Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Ma'am, respected Registrar Sir, respected Design Chair of Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Acting Director of Amity School of Architecture and Planning, and HOI of Amity School of Fashion Technology, esteemed speakers, faculty members, and dear delegates, and each one of you to this 3 day international conference on creative design practices, interdisciplinary research, and emerging technologies, conducted by Amity School of Fashion Technology and Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Amity University, Chhattisgarh. We express our sincere gratitude to our inspiration and guiding light, our Honorable Founder President Dr. Ashok Chauhan Sir, Honorable Chairman Dr. Asim Chauhan Sir, Honorable Chancellor Dr. W. Sarvamurthy Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey Sir, and Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Sumita Dave Ma'am. It is under your visionary leadership and unwavering support that makes this academic endeavors possible and impactful. We are truly honored to have such an esteemed gathering of academicians, researchers, professionals, and students from across the country and around the world. Your presence adds immense value and meaning to this conference. This conference is not just an event, it's a platform for ideas to meet, disciplines to connect, and innovation to flourish. And we look forward to 3 days of insightful discussions, meaningful interactions, and collaborative learning.
To begin these prestigious events on an auspicious note, we will now proceed with the traditional Indian lamp lighting ceremony, a symbol of knowledge, wisdom, and enlightenment. May I now invite our distinguished dignitaries, co-convener, and all the faculty members of Amity School of Architecture and Planning and Amity School of Fashion Technology to kindly come forward and light the ceremonial lamp.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता क्षमा पातु सरस्वती भगवती
I request all the dignitaries to kindly take their seats on the stage. I now take this opportunity to invite our convener, Professor Dr. Parampreet Kaur, Acting Director of Amity School of Architecture and Planning and HOA of Amity School of Fashion Technology, whose vision and leadership has made this conference possible, to deliver the welcome address and introduce the theme of the conference.
A very good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to all of you to the International Conference on Creative Design Practices, Interdisciplinary Research, and Emerging Technology, jointly organized by Amity School of Architecture and Planning and Amity School of Fashion Technology. With due respect, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Founder President, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan Sir, Honorable Chairman, Dr. Asim Chauhan Sir, and Honorable Chancellor, Dr. W. Selvamurthy Sir, for their visionary leadership and constant inspiration that continues to guide us in fostering excellence in education and research. We are equally grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey Sir, and Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sumita Dave Ma'am, for their unwavering support, encouragement, and guidance in making this conference a reality. We are thankful for the guidance and direction of our respected Registrar Sir, Dr. Suresh Dhyani Sir, and Design Chair, Professor QH Kaparia Sir. This conference serves as a vibrant platform for academicians, researchers, designers, professionals, and students to come together, exchange ideas, and explore innovative approaches across multiple creative domains. The coverage of design practices, technology, and interdisciplinary research is shaping the future of our built environment, fashion industry, and digital ecosystem. Over the next 3 days, we will engage with the diverse, thought provoking themes, including fashion design, textile design, digital design, product and industrial design, architecture, urban planning, and interior design, followed by interdisciplinary emerging researches. We have gathered 117 papers, and it is a fortunate event that we all will be listening to them. This diverse range of themes reflect the evolving nature of design, where boundaries between disciplines and increasingly blurred and collaboration becomes essential for meaningful innovation. I am confident that this conference will not only foster academic dialogue but also inspire new collaborations, creative explorations, and impactful research that contributes to the society in a large domain. I once again extend a very warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers, delegates, faculty members, and students. Your presence and participation truly enrich this platform. Let us make the most out of it and learn, share, and innovate. Thank you, and I wish you all a very engaging and enriching conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With great respect and admiration, I extend a heartfelt welcome to Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Chhattisgarh, whose visionary leadership and dedication to academic excellence have been the cornerstone of our institution's growth. Sir, your presence truly elevates this occasion. May I now request Sir to deliver the presidential address?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Meenakshi. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Our very esteemed founder president, Dr. Ashok Chauhan, our chairman, Dr. Asim Chauhan, our chancellor, Dr. W. Selvamurthy, all the distinguished guests present in this international conference, eminent academicians, industry leaders, faculty members, researchers, and dear students. It is both an honor and a privilege for me to welcome you all to this 3-day conference on creative design practices, interdisciplinary research, and technologies, jointly organized by Amity School of Fashion Technology and Amity School of Architecture and Planning at Amity University, Chhattisgarh. I'm very happy that Dr. QH Kapadia, who's a design chair, Dr. Parampreet, an entire organizing team had been able to bring about this conference, this which reflects a vision which I have constantly believed, that is the education and the innovation lies in the transdisciplinary convergence. It is no longer interdisciplinary only, it is transdisciplinary also, where the science, technology, and sustainability also they intersect to address the real world problems. And therefore, I'm very happy that Mr. Rajiv and entire team they have brought up this conference, which is a very timely conference. In my own journey in the environmental sciences and institutional leadership, as well as advisory positions, I've come across variety of the issues, variety of the problems, where I have seen that there's a critical gap. And what is that gap? that the problems of the humans which we are facing, and with the advancement in the sciences and technology, the problems are there, and newer problems are coming every day. And unfortunately, the solutions are designed in the silos. And when you design something in a silo, then obviously the implementation becomes very difficult. And therefore, wherever the issue is that we don't have to work and think in silos, we need to have in an inherently interconnected world. And therefore, whether it is a problem of urban expansion, ecological stress, whether it is a problem of fast fashion or environmental degradation, or whether it is issues of the infrastructure development and resource depletion, I have found that these solutions require a meeting of the minds from the different disciplines and from the different areas, and therefore integrated design thinking, which is backed by scientific evidences and technological innovations, is the need of the hour. And therefore, I'm very happy that this conference, which is an international conference, where more than 117 contributors have been already on the line. They're coming and they're representing, and this has to be used as a tool for the sustainability. I believe that sustainability, which is a becoming a very common word, but it's a very important word, because what I have believed in myself, my own working is there, that environmental systems and sustainability have reinforced the design decisions also, and they determine the total outcome also. And therefore, for example, I'll tell you, in architecture, what kind of material you are choosing, that will influence the total outcome on the, let's say, in the form of carbon footprint. That is a global warming. How global warming is affected, the genesis may start the what kind of materials we're using, either in architecture or in the fashion or in our overall planning. In fashion also, the life cycle thinking is very, very important, that all the students and the researchers and the faculty members of the fashion technology, they should include the life cycle thinking in their own entire functioning, right from the raw material to the end point of this, when the product is discarded, where it is going, how it is going to affect the environment, how it is going to affect the human issues. That is a very important thinking. Therefore, in fashion, I believe that life cycle thinking is very, very essential. Similarly, in planning, the data-driven design is very, very important. That today the data is there, design is there, but it has to be merged with that decision in such a way that creative thinking and creative design should be having a place. And today there are many new technologies are coming. We all know that AI is becoming a very, very common. GIS, digital simulation is there, and these are different new areas which are coming. They are making us to convert into, till now what was our way, that any problem has come, we used to try to find a solution to that. That was a reactive decision making. From reactive decision making, we need to convert to the predictive decision making, that where we can predict the problems in the future. And then from predictive decision making, we have to go to the regenerative thinking models, the regenerative models, where using the existing issues, we can create a new issues, new problem, and new solutions to the existing problems. And this is where that your discipline, that is the fashion and technology and architecture, they become the vehicle of the change. And therefore, it's very, very important that the entire academia, we need to we need to move out of the conventional model also. And I'm very happy that our MIT system has always been very, very consciously building an ecosystem which is promoting interdisciplinary research linked with the societal issues also. We are already working on industry aligned innovations also. We are also we have included the sustainability driven curriculum in almost every discipline. And fortunate that MIT has been able to provide a very, very important to provide to all program will be joined this and new meeting coming with the new collaborations, with new policy inputs, and with the scalable design solutions also. So my best wishes to all the researchers, faculty members, and organizers. And my message to the all students is that you are not only the part of students, you are the future designers. You are the future problem solvers of the humanity. So take your role seriously and do all the best, whatever you can do, whatever your disciplines are there. My best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the thought provoking words. We now move to a significant moment of this inaugural session, the release of the Book of Abstracts. This book is a reflection of the collective scholarly efforts of our researchers and participants, showcasing innovative ideas, interdisciplinary approaches, and valuable contributions to the field of design and emerging technologies. To do the honors, I would now like to humbly invite our esteemed dignitaries, the co-convener and the co-convener to kindly come forward for the release of the Book of Abstracts. Thank you, everyone.
Dear all, to impart the glimpse of the entire conference and the technical sessions focusing on the fashion, textile, product, digital architecture, and interior design. Today there will be keynote session of Dr. Vishal Chetri and Dr. Elizabeth Killy Morris, followed by two technical sessions with 5 tracks in technical session 1 and 2 tracks in a technical session 2. On 16, the day starts with the 4 tracks in technical session 3 and 4, followed by the keynote session of Professor Anma, continuing further with 1 track in technical session 5. On 16, the day begins with the 5 tracks in a technical session 6, followed by keynote session of Professor Dr. Hava Helesley Metliglu, ending the day with the validatory session. May I invite Mr. Rajiv Kumar, co-convener of the conference, for the delivering the vote of thanks.
Good morning and warm greetings to all. Design is not just what it looks like and feel like. Design is how it works, connects and transforms ideas into impact realities. I, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, co-convener, feel immensely honored to propose the vote of thanks on this auspicious occasion. Honorable Founder President Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan sir, Honorable Chairman Dr. Asim Chauhan sir, Honorable Chancellor Dr. W. Salmamiti sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey sir, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Sumita Dave ma'am, and respected Registrar sir, distinguished guest esteemed speakers, respected faculty members, dear delegates, and my dear students. It is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks on the inaugural ceremony of the 3-day international conference on creative design practices, interdisciplinary research, and emerging technologies. At the outset, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Founder President Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan sir for his visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to excellence. I sincerely thank our Honorable Chairman Dr. Asim Chauhan sir for his continuous guidance and encouragement in fostering academic innovation. I express my deep appreciation to our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. W. Salmamurthy sir, for his inspiring vision and support towards research and interdisciplinary growth. I am truly grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey sir, for his motivating leadership and insightful presidential address. I extend my sincere thanks to our Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sumita Dave ma'am, for his constant encouragement and valuable guidance. I also convey my respectful thanks to our Registrar Sir for his administrative support and cooperation in making this event successful. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our respected sincere, sincere thanks to admin team and IT team for their support. My heartfelt thanks to all dignitaries for the release of our stack book and for gracing this occasion with their esteemed presence. I would like to express my sincere gratitude all the participants and especially to all the presenters who registered for this conference and contribute their valuable research work, making this platform truly enriching and meaningful. I would like also to extend a special thanks to Professor Claude Matthew and his team for providing excellence administrative support throughout the organizing of this event. I'm equally thankful to Mr. Amresh Patel and his team for their dedicated IT support, ensuring the smooth and seamless conduct of the program. I would like to acknowledge the dedicated efforts for the organizing team, moderators, and volunteers for successfully conducting today's session. From welcoming the delegates, lighting of lamp, Saraswati Vanna to seamless coordination of the program. As for today's inaugural schedule, this marks the beginning of insightful keynote session and technical discussion that will certainly lead to innovation and interdisciplinary collaboration. With this, I once again thank each and every one for your valuable presence and contribution. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Dear all, soon we'll be starting with the first keynote session for today by Dr. Vishal Chetri. The session will start at 11:15.
I request every student to not get away from auditorium. Just stay everyone over here, okay? Call your classmates here if they have gone somewhere. Very strict instructions.
Respected dignitaries, esteemed guests, and dear participants, it is my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Vishal Chetri, assistant professor in the Department of Architecture, Planning and Design at the Indian Institute of Technology, BHU, Varanasi. Dr. Chetri holds a PhD in urban planning from VNIT Nagpur, along with a master's degree in urban and regional planning from SPA Bhopal. With a strong academic and research background, his work primarily focuses on urban planning, geoinformatics, urban sprawl analysis, and sustainable built environments, integrating advanced tools such as GIS and remote sensing. He has made significant contributions to the field through extensive publications in reputed SCIE and Scopus Index journals and serves on the editorial boards of internationally recognized journals. His research work, with notable citations and impact, reflects his dedication to advancing knowledge in sustainable urban development and climate responsive planning. Dr. Chetri has also been actively involved in research projects and consultancy assignments with prestigious organizations, including government bodies, contributing to areas such as heritage conservation, urban climate studies, and infrastructure planning. Beyond research, he is a passionate academician, mentor, and organizer, having conducted numerous faculty development programs, workshops, and conferences, and delivered expert lectures across leading institutions. We are truly honored to have him with us today to share his insights and expertise. May I now request Dr. Vishal Chetri to kindly deliver his talk on sustainable futures for built and unbuilt spaces aligning with the SDGs. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the generous introduction. And I'm very thankful to the organization for inviting me to deliver a keynote address on such an important topic, which is of concern to all of us today who are here in the auditorium, as well as for all the presenters who will be presenting their research papers during this 3 day international conference. So, before I would like to start my presentation, I want to ensure if my screen is visible to all of you. Just a moment here. So, is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Please put it on the slideshow mode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So right now it is, I guess it's afternoon there in Raipur. So good afternoon, students and all the faculty members who are present here in this conference. And such kind of conferences are very much essential in academia, especially because it is a kind of a gathering where researchers, academicians, and the listeners, in this case it may be students today, who will get to know about the different work, research works that have been done in the domain of the conference topic. So this will give an understanding to the students that beyond what they are learning today in this in their academic curriculum, so there are many future opportunities also where they can possibly contribute in creating some some spaces or some sustainable design options through their interventions. So students may select to, if they want, they can start their practice or join firm, but there may be few students who may be really interested in joining academia or research organizations. So this this kind of gathering is very essential for our students and also for my co-faculty colleagues, because this will also help us understand that different research opportunities and research avenues in which one can contribute and understand more on the topic, so that whatever we teach in our lectures are more effective and currently up to date with the current research trends. So with this I'd like to start my lecture today on The topic sustainable futures for built and unbuilt spaces, and it will be mostly aligned with SDG goals. And as you all know that how important is sustainability in especially in today's time. And now we are just in the mid of April. It is 15th of April today, and we can understand and we can see like how hot the outdoor spaces has become already, and such kind of trend will be very common in days to come. So as the years passes, the due to global warming and due to unsustainable techniques and unsustainable way of living, our day-to-day life will create more havoc on us. Though we may be able to protect ourselves from such extreme climate by using some HVAC systems or some air conditioning system for a moment, but then ultimately our health will be impacted because of that. So it is a entire loop kind of thing where once we get trapped, it is very difficult for us to come out of this loop. So with that focus and with that kind of context, let us now start understanding on what is actually an SDG and how understanding SDG may help all of us today to understand on how to contribute towards the sustainability of the planet. So SDG, as we all know, it's just a kind of background, so that once the background is established, it will be easy for all of you to understand what is coming in the futures in the upcoming slides. So SDGs were framed by United Nations and was adopted in September 2015 as part of 2030 agenda for sustainable development. So all the member countries agreed to the 17 sustainable development goals, and you can see the goals that are being listed here in this slide. This gives us an understanding that on what particular goal our work can align, and then we can contribute towards the achieving that particular goal, because the government alone, because all these are being framed at the top level, at the at the top hierarchy, that maybe the government that are trying to put forward this at an international platform, and then possibly they expect that all the citizens under each country can try to help the government to reach the particular goal which is being set by the respective government. So in that, these are 17 goals. Like first is no poverty, then second is zero hunger, then third is good health and well-being, fourth is quality education, fifth is gender equality, clean water and sanitation is sixth goal, seventh is affordable and clean energy, eighth is decent work and economic growth. So if you see all the goals that are listed here, so we as architect or as urban planners, or maybe there are few students from fashion technology as well. So our work some or the other way aligns with most of these goals, and it is not like and it is very unique to what the course we have enrolled as an architect or as a planner or as a fashion technology student. Our work actually aligns with most of these goals, and it is very a kind of unique course in itself, because if you see any other course, maybe from engineering or maybe from management, they have a certain limitation through which these goals are actually possible to be met. But as an architect or as a planner, our intervention actually moves and aligns with most of these goals. So if we design a kind of educational institute where the quality education is ensured, or where the facilities and spaces are so well designed that the education system itself it becomes better in its through the design interventions itself, because of effective comfortable spaces in classrooms as well as outdoor spaces. So with that intention, our most of the goals can be met, like quality education, gender equality. So our spaces are so well designed that there is no kind of inferiority or any unsafe spaces are being promoted through design, so that ensures ensures that gender equality is maintained, and plus using passive design, as per the climatic zones of the different regions, we ensure that affordable and clean energy is promoted, decent work and economic growth is promoted, provided the spaces are well designed, industry innovation and infrastructure, some kind of labs are being well thought in advanced in future, that we will be opening some labs which may help promote industry innovation and infrastructure, and similarly for reduced inequality, and the most important one is sustainable cities and communities. So if we design our spaces in such a way that it tries to utilize less of active means of active means of energy, and we are much dependent on renewable sources of energy, and the material that is being used is not contributing to further carbon emissions, so that ensures that the design that we do will promote sustainable cities and communities. Likewise for climate action, life on land, peace and strong institutions. So in all, our curriculum has a strong alignment towards these SDG goals, and that is where the researchers and researchers and academicians have to try to find out ways by which their work and involvement can promote SDG goals. We often do whatever the work that we do. It may be regular classroom teaching or maybe some research papers that we work. Everything aligns with SDG goals. So if we try to just highlight that in our research work and in our different platforms wherever we get, then it is heard by larger audience, and then they are able to connect with much larger vision that every country has set. So then it may be some research projects or maybe some other research papers to publish. So possibly there, if we highlight all this, then the people who will be reviewing our work or judging our work can understand the importance and give us go ahead to pursue the work. So this is what is SDG all about, and focusing especially on on India. So let us now see what is the overall performance trend, or which focuses on SDG goals. So we are very good in reducing the poverty here in India, because through different schemes that are being introduced by government of India and different state governments, so the poverty level has been reduced to a very significant number, which was there before these goals were set, which may be midday meal schemes or maybe some direct cash benefit transfer that government is trying to provide it to its underprivileged citizens, or maybe some kind of monetary assistance to build quality residence for themselves through PMAY or through certain different government schemes. So likewise for zero hunger, the major challenge is still present in Indian case, but the growth is not happening in a right direction. In terms of good health and well-being, there was a challenge earlier, but now due to different government schemes like Ayush, or through some interventions by government of India, the cost of all the medicines is being reduced, and there are certain pharmacies which are being set up by government, wherein the cost of medicine is being lowered, and the government is actively trying to increase the number of hospitals in each district. So in our recent budget, which was tabled in the parliament, so there was emphasis on increasing the number of specialized hospital, and at least having one hospital in each multi-speciality hospital in each district. So these are certain certain areas where the government is trying its best, but then we as researchers have to also through our research we have to highlight these issues in focusing on our based on our interest at different platforms. So if your research aligns with healthcare, then possibly you can identify some areas where we are currently lacking. It may be that one of my very much one of my research, basically research area is towards focusing on healthy cities. So what I intend to do through that research project is that understand how our cities or how our neighborhoods promote good health. So good health, in terms of good health, we always imagine that okay, having an hospital nearby may be a good indicator to good health of that entire neighborhood. But in reality, or in or when we try to identify that, or when we try to investigate that through research, it was not so. Despite having good number of hospitals and pharmacy or clinic in a neighborhood, there were people who were suffering a lot in terms of health issues. So it was observed that most of the non-communicable diseases like NCDs, which includes diabetes or cardiovascular diseases, these are all linked to walkability. So if our neighborhoods are not having walkable areas, that means they do not have proper footpath or they do not have proper shaded avenues, so people are discouraged to walk. And then if our facilities and services are at a certain distance, like these days the term 5-minute city is gathering a huge momentum, or 10-minute city, all these kind of concepts are getting a huge momentum these days in research and academia. But if we try to see what our older settlements would look like, so they were all mixed use. So the purpose of having a mixed use settlement was that so people need not travel a huge distance to get their basic needs fulfilled. So that is where the neighborhood planning concept started from these ideas eventually. So all this that we see in Chandigarh, all the blocks that were designed wherein a primary school, a small bank or a dispensary, all these and small shops were all located in a neighborhood itself. And neighborhood is a very walkable walkable unit in itself, so people tend to walk more, plus the having the provision of footpath and shaded avenue, so this creates a comfortable walking environment for people. And if people tend to walk more, then all these lifestyle diseases that people at such early stage are facing these days, so these are all reduced to a certain extent. So these all has been seen in research that is being done at international level. But here in India, if you just google out about the topic healthy city, you will find a very less work that has been done. And that is what we are trying to do it here in our department with some of my PhD scholars. We are trying to understand the healthy city concept in case of in case of India, and understand how our neighborhoods can be designed or can be planned in a way that we promote good health to a certain extent. Instead of depending on medicines, how can our daily routine be such that it promotes healthy city concept? So likewise, there are these goals, and you can understand and see here where we are actually progressing and where there is a stagnation in goal. That means we need to further accelerate the pace of growth in that particular goal. The next I want to highlight is about SDG goal number 11, that is sustainable cities and community. And somewhere we all are linked with this particular goal. So in this case, there are major challenges that still remain in this case. So there is lot to do in this. As an architect or as a planner, we see that most of our building industry consumes or produces lot of carbon emission. It is because of the material that we use, mostly bricks or reinforced cement concrete or glass. So these are all kind of materials which has produced lot of carbon in the environment from the moment the mining process starts, for cement or for steel or for glass. So eventually the first stage from where these materials are excavated is through mining of the earth. And then through that itself there is lot of destruction in the environment that has happened, plus the carbon that is emitted, and then from there it is being brought to industrial sites like Bhilai, Durg, or Raurkela, or all these are the places where these raw materials are being brought, and then it is processed, and during all this manufacturing process lot of carbon is being emitted, and then from there it is being transported to a different location, and in a in a yard space, and then from there it is being brought to the construction site, and through this it produces lot of carbon, and it damages the environment. So what are the alternative way of designing a building or constructing a building through which the environmental damage can be minimized? So we can dedicate one special lecture on that itself on some other day, but today I'll show you what are through some research work at the end, that how we here as in here in IIT BHU, what are different research work that we are currently working on, and then some real life case studies will also be shown, through which people are actively trying to promote sustainable cities and community. So, looking into the status of the key SDG goals, so what is the overall progress that has been happening? So, India has shown advancement in reducing inequality, that is through SDG 10, and promoting SDG 11, with 70% of waste in smart cities are now scientifically processed. So, we have now, like further, there are certain government schemes which are being proposed by ANRF, which is Anusandhan National Research Foundation, and also DST erstwhile. So they have floated a lot of research proposal where if anyone is interested can take part and contribute towards research in this domain, and certain innovations have been happening in this domain, wherein the waste that is being generated, solid waste, liquid waste, so all these the techniques for processing these waste are being developed, and then they are commercialized, and we can see that these days 70% of the waste is now processed in India. Then next, regarding energy transition, India has established itself as the fourth largest wind energy producer globally, and today the renewable source of the electricity that we use in our day-to-day life has increased up to 22.13% in 24-25, which was earlier 16.02 in 2015 and 16. So most of our airports today and most of the railway stations these days have installed solar panels, because these public spaces actually consume lot of electricity for their day-to-day use. So that is where even in educational institutes these days you may find huge area that is being dedicated for solar parks, or at least the rooftops are now used for or used for solar panels. So that is how these interventions have increased our dependency on renewable source and decreased dependency on non-renewable sources. Then further in waste management, waste recycling infrastructure has grown to some 3,000 numbers in India in 2024-25 compared to 829 that was there in 2019-20. So in that sector also there is an active development that is happening. But despite all this growth, there are certain challenges that still remain in India today. So the first is India lags in responsible consumption and production, with high carbon emissions and continued reliance on coal. Though we are able to utilize 22% of our energy source from renewable sources, but still there is lot to do in that sector. So how our especially when it again comes to our domain, so how we can design a building in such a way that it utilizes less of we are less dependent on active means and utilize passive energy in our design in such a way that the dependency on active measures is minimized. So we have to now go through understand this, we have to go back to our traditional learning. So what was there in earlier days, at least for a small scale construction, passive so passive energy sources can be very much utilized, and it has been found very effective in reducing carbon emission and also they are now what they are actually doing is they are producing electricity because of less dependency on the grid source, and they are actively contributing to the grid source, and they are generating revenue out of that also. So that is the development that has happened. And also the other is here, especially in terms of the area like urban planning, housing, transport and infrastructure directly affects SDG outcomes, because infrastructure development requires all the materials that I was mentioning before, and then when you have to use that, so somewhere these materials have already damaged our environment a lot, and further the use of these, or further promoting the use of these materials, will increase the or decrease the the achievement of these goals. The next is transportation. Here the government is actually trying to bring more of electric buses, and then lessening our dependency on fossil fuels. But then again, if you see the end goal, from where this electricity is generated, it is mostly the coal that is being used to generate electricity. There is also that issue that is happening. So we have to minimize the use of renewable non-renewable sources and maximize the use of renewable sources. So how our design or how our built environment actually promotes all that. So that is what is a challenge, and we all have to now start actively taking part in these areas to understand and to contribute towards a sustainable future for ourselves and also the coming generation. So before we then again further proceed, let us understand what unbuilt environment is all about. So unbuilt environment is anything apart from the built spaces. So it includes natural landscape, that is all the mountains, forests and water bodies, and it also includes urban open spaces like parks, gardens and plazas that we see in most of the educational campuses, and in also in some parts of the cities in terms of zoo and other huge urban parks that are there. The next is transitional zones, that is a kind of area that is located, that is present, which acts as a buffer space between the built structure and that with the infrastructure, like the transportation infrastructure. So these are some buffer spaces that are present, some mostly in the visit ring roads, you will find all these areas to be present. The next is marginal spaces. So these are the spaces which are sometimes also called as voids and unused lands, or green corridors which are below the flyovers or below the highways or elevated highways or corridors that we see in the outer areas. So in all, so these are all the part of unbuilt environment. So the design intervention can work here. So these are marginal spaces that are left. So why can't we design some kind of spaces here which promotes which generates electricity here. So you can plan the provision of solar park or some windmills in these locations, wherein these spaces are actually utilized for some better purpose, or having some landscape area which actually improves the overall biodiversity of this entire zone or area. So also we need these areas, these marginal spaces, because we have been consuming lot of groundwater sources in the urban areas by pumping or by using some kind of pumps, which borewell kind of thing for our daily water supply needs. So these spaces can act as kind of buffer spaces from where the water can percolate very easily to the ground, and then the groundwater can recharge. Because to have these kind of open spaces in cities today, it is very much impossible, because the core area is actually fully covered with built spaces and all the paved surfaces. So that is where it becomes very difficult for water to percolate to the ground, and that is why we found that the water level in urban areas has gone to an extent where further pumping brings out arsenic material and other hazardous material in our drinking water. So we have to stop further pumping, and then depend on the dams and water body that are there in the surroundings. So we have to now recharge these groundwater sources, and to do that, these spaces are of immense use for us. Then understanding about built environment. So built environment is something which is completely human made surroundings where people live, walk, and then they recreate the entire construction. So it encompasses buildings, it encompasses infrastructure, public spaces, heritage, and all the modified natural systems like dams and other amenities for us. So these are all the example of built environment. So these comprises of built environment, and all the open spaces that we see in our surroundings or in the in the periphery of the cities are all classified as unbuilt environment. So if we try to further break down the built environment, it comprises of buildings and housing like residential, commercial, and institutional structures, urban infrastructure, which includes the services for water supply, sewerage, drainage, and for the energy network. So all the infrastructure that is constructed for these facilities are also a part of built environment, because they are also consuming some amount of space in the ground itself, and it is being covered for these purposes, and ground is actually covered for these purposes. Then next is transportation system. It includes roads, metro, BRT, pedestrian, and cycling networks. Though they are a kind of spaces which are utilized for our day to day purpose, but then they are also part of built environment, and they if we do not design these spaces properly, then they will block the natural space or the natural cover that is there on the top, and then possibly the percolation of rainwater or the open spaces that are present in our city will be minimized because of this. So what are the different design solutions in this case? So one can do a research and understand that how the transportation system or in fact urban infrastructure can be designed in such a way that we minimize the hardscape on these areas. Then next is public spaces like parks, streets, plazas, though they are also a category of unbuilt spaces, but if it is well covered or if it is fully paved without having any spaces left for rainwater to percolate, or just it increases, then it increases an effect called urban heat island. So the more paving area we have in our cities or more hardscape present in our cities, the chances of having urban heat island also increases in the cities, because the what happens in urban heat island effect is that it is very much understood that the sun rays fall on the earth and then it is reflected back, but then if the reflected surfaces are very high compared to what the absorbed surfaces which absorb sunlight is present in our city, then all the reflected heat waves that remains in our atmosphere increases the temperature of our surroundings. So the temperature, effective temperature that we have or that we see in different sources is the air temperature, but then the air temperature is also dependent on how much reflectance is happening because of the hardscapes in our cities. So that is why we have to plant more trees or have more green spaces within the city and minimize paved and all these covered surfaces. So then there has been a paradigm shift from built to unbuilt focus, because earlier when we would say that okay, that the country is developed or that city is very developed city, but our city is not much developed, so we'd always vision that in terms of infrastructure growth that would facilitate the people who are living there. But today now there has been shift in the thought process. So the definition of development itself has changed. So earlier it was just in terms of infrastructure or physical development of the city. So that is where the cities now have to be mapped in terms of sustainable development that is happening. So that is where we as an architect planner we have to intervene and understand how the the spaces that are designed or the buildings that are designed in a city can promote sustainable development. So the earlier approach was on maximizing build structures and the increasing development intensity, wherein we actually promote a lot of infrastructure growth and declare ourselves as a developed city. But now the focus is also on good health, on good quality education, on peace, and then on also on climate action. So it is a kind of comprehensive measurement tool through which the growth of any country or any city is measured. So that is why measuring growth through SDG goals has become an important shift in understanding the development pattern of different countries. So also we have to understand why the sustainability of these spaces matters is because it reduces the embodied carbon from construction material and processes. It maintains ecosystem connectivity and biodiversity corridor, because it is seen that in different scenarios when there is a lot of physical development that is happening. So in those cases, if the ecosystem is not preserved, so then possibly then our survival here, despite building good infrastructure for us, becomes questionable. So you must have come across some articles that explains that talks about that if the bees I mean honeybees, if they get extinct, then the entire our survival will also be extinct in few decades or in few 100 years, because that bee is a kind of pollinating agent. It actually helps in the growth of in the growth of agriculture or in the growth of plants, and then because of these sources is where we get our food. But then ultimately, if these the process is stopped there itself, then the availability of food will be limited, and then if the food is limited, then our survival becomes difficult in that case. So that is why the biodiversity is essential. So we have to plant more of flowering trees or more of fruit bearing trees in our locality or in our surroundings, so that the biodiversity is actually maintained, and then we can live in harmony with the nature. So the SDGs goal that focuses mostly on unbuilt and built environment will try to understand these aspects also. So what are the goals that focuses on unbuilt environment? The first is SDG 3, that is good health and well-being. So it ensures, if we try to work on this goal, then then the outcome would be like we will be able to get more cleaner air, cooler microclimates, spaces for physical activity and mental health. So the design interventions may think of like how the spaces that are designed may promote cleaner air or cooler microclimates or increased physical activity. So if you are designing a huge commercial complex or a huge educational campus, so possibly there you can intervene that having a cooler microclimate through passive design features, or going promoting walkable streets, or having shaded roads or pathways can help or promote physical activity, and also provides a space where the mental health can be recharged. Because these days what happens, we are mostly surrounded by built environment. So if it is almost the walls that surrounds us throughout majority part of our day, and if we if we try to restrict ourselves going from outdoor spaces due to all extreme heat and all the other issues, then possibly our mental health also reduces. So through research and through our own understanding of or the past experience, we have felt that all of us feel that once we get interact with the nature, or once we are in open spaces, we feel much comfortable, we feel much healthier compared to these spaces. So however, so that is where we have to also think of creating such spaces in any design project that we work on, and also try to work through these goals itself. The next is SDG 6, like clean water and sanitation. The strategies like promoting natural infiltration, groundwater recharge, protection of watersheds and riparian zones, or maybe the wetlands that should be protected, because these are the wetlands are kind of hotspots where the biodiversity is also present. Plus, it is a space where all the excess amount of rainwater that a city gets can be collected, and it groundwater recharge can happen in that area. These days, what is happening in most of our cities? Earlier, there used to be a good number of ponds, lakes, and these wetlands in the periphery or in the city core also, but now due to encroachment and due to all the waste that is being dumped in these water bodies, these water bodies have decayed, and over the years they have been encroached for constructing buildings, or building up some public amenities also. So agreed that we need public amenities, but then in the name of cutting out trees and then also filling up these water bodies is not a good way to proceed. So instead, this is what is happening. We are the paradigm shift that has already happened in many of countries, that through the past they have seen that okay, if we just only focus on physical development, then possibly in future we'll have to live by the effect of these things. So that is where SDG goals had initiated, and now if we try to sideline these SDG goals and just focus on constructing buildings, we don't have any purpose at all, purpose in a long run at all. So then these infrastructure won't have any meaning in longer run, and they will be just just a building where after some years it will consume too much of energy and too much of capital also for its functioning. So that is where we have to think of these goals and understand how the construction or how our design can promote these goals. Then next is SDG 13, that is on climate action. So carbon sequestration in soils and vegetation is very much essential, as it helps mitigate urban heat island effect. So we have to develop more of open spaces and more of green cover in our cities. So it may be in terms of green wall, or through having green terraces in the roof, or maybe some buffer areas which are being which has lot of plantation in the surroundings. So these all has to be promoted, and wherever there is an alternative, instead of cutting trees and then covering the open space, we have to think of these aspects. Then next is SDG 14, that is life below water. So here the reduced runoff and pollution into rivers, lakes, and coastal waters through permeable and vegetated areas should be promoted. So this is where even the wetlands can act as a major way of promoting life below water, because wetlands, as already explained you, these are the zones where the biodiversity is protected, plus the excess rainwater that falls in the city can be can be drained to these wetlands. They will act as kind of sponge cities, sponge, where the excess water can be directed, and they will consume and that area will consume that excess water. But if we don't allow all this to happen, then possibly the issues that we see, like urban flooding, which is very common these days, isn't it? So in our cities we see that just if there is a 10 to 15 minutes of extreme downpour that is happening in our city, our most of the areas are below the water, and that creates problem to the day-to-day functioning. Like people may face difficulty in reaching schools, offices, and the entire functioning of the city gets disrupted because of this, because of poor drainage system, and also the covering of all the wetlands that are there in the surroundings. So so we have to be cautious in understanding these issues, and coming up with design solutions. So the next is SDG 15, that is life on land. So habitat conservation, biodiversity corridor, soil conservation, prevention of land degradation. So these are some strategies that has to be suggested, like biodiversity corridor, as I explained you. So I have seen this kind of infrastructure which actually facilitates the citizens as well as the entire wildlife that is residing in that entire area. So I have seen this in Nagpur also, where if we go towards Pench or Tadoba wildlife sanctuary, we go through a road which is kind of elevated, and then earlier it was not so. Earlier it was like on ground itself, and there was lot of accident between man and the animal. So there was man animal conflict, plus lot of animals would die because of speeding vehicles, and so that is where government intervened, and they designed some elevated corridor through which the transportation is also facilitated, plus the wildlife is also protected in that area. Similarly in Assam, where currently the project is in pipeline. So Kaziranga National Park, as I guess most of you have heard of, is also located similarly on on a national highway that connects Guwahati to Upper Assam and other northeast region. So so that road actually passes through the center of Kaziranga National Park, and the other side of the one side of the road is actually a low-lying area where most of the rhinos and elephant try to they have a strong population in that region. And since it is a low lying area, so there are wetlands, there are a lot of vegetation in that area. And just on the other side of the road, there is an elevated soil for landform, that is a small mountain and hilly areas are located on the other side of the road. So mostly during during monsoon season there in Assam, it extends from at least it extends to 2 to 3 months, or sometimes to 4 months in an entire year also. So what happens, these animals actually try to cross that road, and during that process lot of animals due to the speeding vehicles and all that, there is a loss of wildlife during that period. Though there are interventions like some cameras are installed, and indicators are being shown at certain levels, which gives a glimpse to the rider that you should limit the speed and all that. So all, despite taking all these precautions, and also putting a fine or some penalty to the rider, but despite that there has been some destruction to wildlife. So now the government has proposed to construct an elevated corridor in that entire zone, and possibly through that we can see the similar results that has been seen in in Nagpur or in some other cities of India also. So these are some interventions that are being in place, and through that the process of promoting SDG goal is ensured. Then now let us look into SDG goals that primarily focuses on the built environment. So the first is clean water and sanitation. So how it links with built environment is that is because the urban settlements require safe water supply and sanitation infrastructure. So the water source where these from where the water is collected should be it should prevent diseases growth, it should improve the health quality of the citizens, and the entire location from where this is being collected with proper infrastructure should be properly monitored, and then some sensors have to be installed in these areas to understand the water quality and if there is any leakage in infrastructure that is happening. So these are some solutions which can be worked and understood to increase the sustainability outcomes in this case. The next is affordable and clean energy. The built environment significance is that the buildings or the entire construction industry utilizes 30 to 40% of total energy consumption globally. Thus, energy efficient architecture and integrating renewable sources of energy into our design can promote SDG 7. So if we have terrace that is available for installing solar panels or having solar panels, so possibly then our dependency on these affordable and clean energy will be increased. And if we have proper openings for light and ventilation in each of the spaces, then also the dependency on renewable sources can be increased. So we'll be utilizing artificial means of lighting and cooling the spaces only when it is in extreme cases, not in months like at least March or early April, because all this is happening because of the poor microclimate that is being designed. We have constructed our buildings in an environment where there is very less vegetation. So we can see that in our educational campuses itself, isn't it? So within our educational campuses, we will feel much cooler because of the vegetation, or maybe because of the water body that is present. Taking an example of BHU campus itself, if you just Google out the entire BHU, you can see that there is significant vegetation in this zone. Similarly, in the entire Varanasi, what you can see, there are at least 3 green pockets that are located, which acts as kind of lungs to the entire city. The first being this BHU campus, then second is cantonment area, where in most of our cities we see that they are very well planned and lot of green cover and vegetation is present. And third here in Varanasi is DLW, that is diesel locomotive work, which is also called as Banaras locomotive work, where the manufacturing of train engines and coaches happen. So there is also an entire township that is being planned. So these 3 townships, or these 3 localities, act as kind of green lungs to the city, where there is lot of plantation and vegetation. At the same time, this kind of urban heat island effect that we mostly see in our city areas is next to negligible in these 3 campuses, at least because of the higher number of or the higher green cover compared to built spaces. So that is the advantage of having green cover, and and also increasing the green cover in the on the surface. The next is about SDG 9, that is industry, innovation and infrastructure. So here the focus is on built environment relevance, where infrastructure is the backbone for economic development and urban functionality. So what kind of built environment is being planned in these areas are also a matter of concern. Similarly, for sustainable cities and communities, also a focus. So that is already explained in detail. The next is SDG 12, that is responsible consumption and production. So here the construction sector, as mentioned, it consumes significant amount of energy. So if we try to move towards more renewable sources or more kind of materials which promote sustainability, like using bamboo, mud, all these natural materials, or stone, we can minimize carbon emission at the source itself. Then all these will help in achieving SDG 13 also, because the climate change that is happening is mostly due to increased global warming and greenhouse effect, and that is somewhere heavily linked with the construction industry. So I guess with this all of you have understood how our SDG goals are linked with SDG goals are linked with built environment as well as the unbuilt environment. So now let us look into the key benefits that from introducing sustainability in built environment we can get. So the first is ecological benefit, that is the carbon sequestration. That means the excess of carbon that is there in our surrounding, which actually pollutes the air that we breathe, can be minimized if we have more trees in our in our surroundings. So if we have that kind of well aware thought process while we design or while we do campus planning, we can promote this happening in our through design. The next is air quality improvement, that will automatically happen provided you have well thought of having good vegetation, like well planned vegetation in your design. The next is water management and recharge. So possibly if in your site there is a low lying area, and then that can act as a kind of pond or kind of natural lake where the excess rainwater can be collected and the biodiversity of that area can be improved. So in this case, what I will suggest you to further understand is an example of SPA Bhopal. So possibly there what I have seen during my studies was there were a few lakes that were present at the at the back side of the campus, and which was like kind of open spaces earlier, but now due to the planning of the entire campus, the excess rainwater and all the unutilized water or the grey water is channelized after proper processing, is channelized to these sources, and then there you now see vegetation that is being flourished. There are a lot of wildlife in terms of different flora and fauna that flourishes in that region. So that has been possible only through proper planning of the spaces. The next is urban heat island mitigation, then soil health and agricultural potential. So all these will be improved provided there is well thought given to the sustainability process. The next is social and economic benefit. Obviously, when we have more of open spaces, we will feel more healthy. We will have more, our mental well-being will also be improved, and the community and culture of that space will also be enhanced, because people will have lot of gathering, and then the gathering spaces actually promotes good good like in harmony and peace among all of us. Then also the other advantage is that it increases the property value of that neighborhood, provided it has good open spaces and all that green spaces covered. So in terms of built environment, if we focus, if these things are well planned, so then urban planning and land use management can be improved. So here it determines how the land is utilized, how it is developed, regulated, and which directly shapes the density, accessibility, resource efficiency, and the environmental impact. So if the if planning of any township or any city is well thought of, then these issues may also be can also be taken care of. And also, if there is sustainable architecture and green buildings designed in place, then energy efficiency, resource efficiency in utilizing at the early stage of construction, and then the environmental responsive design can be promoted through this. So now let us look quickly into some of the research work that we have been doing here, to which actually tries to investigate more of the issues at the moment, and we are also in process of identifying or coming up with some solutions on these identified issues. So the first work that I want to discuss in front of you is related to spatio-temporal impact assessment of urbanization on wetlands of Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir in India. So here most of my research actually focuses on Indian Himalayan region. So possibly Srinagar is also a part of Indian Himalayan region, and here we have tried to understand the impact of urbanization on the wetlands. So there, Dal Lake, as you all know, that due to the importance of Dal Lake. So in terms of tourism, it is a very big source of revenue generation for the entire Srinagar. Plus, it is also a kind of source from where they actually they do the agriculture over there in the surroundings. Plus, there is a lot of dependency. People are economically economically dependent on Dal Lake. So that is why the topic is being selected, and we try to understand the land cover transformation that is happening in the city. So over the years, here you can see all these red marks exhibits that there is a significant growth in built up that has happened in the Srinagar. Plus, if you see the wetland or water body itself, the lake, so there has been some encroachment in terms of the green cover, that maybe the excess agriculture that is happening over there, or maybe floating gardens that have covered the entire zone. So all these have started gradually encroaching the open surfaces that was available in Dal Lake, and that is also minimizing the water quality of the Dal Lake. So it is being seen that the built up is increasing. There is less of green cover in city. You can see that. So all these dark green patches were the vegetation that were present earlier, which are good quality vegetation in terms of thick areas which are covered with trees. But over the years they have been decline, and there is more of agriculture that is happening, and an increased built up growth that has happened in the city, and the wetland area has decreased to sizable number. So this image itself shows the decline in the surface of Dal Lake, and how the built up is actually increasing over there. Plus, we have used some landscape metrics to understand the disintegration of patches. Patches would mean here the blocks that are present in the water body. It may be the blocks, maybe the water itself, or maybe any built mass that are there in the water body. So the number of patches here, we can see that it has declined, and the patch density has increased. Patch density has also decreased. That means there is reduction in high amount of huge patches. Then landscape shape index is also decreased, and then LPI has also, but LPI has increased over this area. So this suggests that the open water flow of the lake has decreased due to increasing in eutrophication. That means the algal bloom that is happening over there has reduced the water cover of the entire water body, and then the increase in houseboats and floating garden, dumping of wastes in the water body, and discharge of untreated sewage water in the water body has also reduced the water quality. So all this has been found out, and we have recently published this paper in journal Environmental Conservation, which is published by Cambridge University Press. So we have tried to exhibit the deterioration that is happening in Dal Lake, and also suggested some interventions. And further, we are working on interventions that can promote the sustainable development of Dal Lake. But to come up with the solutions, we first have to investigate the issues. So that is where I try to showcase this today. Then next is assessing the impact of land cover change on ecosystem services in Gorakhpur, India. So Gorakhpur is a municipal corporation which is at around 2 to 3 hours from Varanasi, and very near to Indo-Nepal border. So there is a wetland which is being recently declared as a wetland of national importance by Government of India, which is Ramgarh Tal, and we try to investigate the land cover change on ecosystem services. So what is ecosystem services? It is a range of services that are important to human well-being, health, livelihood, and survival that we get from the ecosystem. So it is classified basically into 4 major categories, like provisioning services, regulating services, supporting services, and cultural services. So provisioning is something that we directly get benefit from that natural source itself. It may be food, water, timber, or fiber. Then next, for regulating services, it is something which controls the microenvironment, so such as climate regulation, water purification, pollination, and food control. Then supporting services are something which is very much linked to the entire ecosystem itself, and it supports the growth of the ecosystem like nutrient cycling, soil formation, primary production, and habitat provision. The next is cultural services, where the socio cultural benefit of any natural space is identified. So it includes recreation, spiritual enrichment, aesthetic inspiration, and educational opportunities. So with all these are actually quantified in US dollar, and we try to understand how the deterioration of any natural water body or natural spaces leads to the deterioration of ecosystem services, because unless we quantify it in terms of money or in terms of capital, it people tend to find it difficult to understand what loss we are making due to all unsustainable way of constructing or unsustainable way of designing our cities. So here we also applied the similar methodology. We try to do a land cover change assessment. So a land cover change assessment is a very important tool to understand and also see visually that how the city is actually growing and which area is actually growing faster than the other locations. So this gives an understanding that the city is growing towards north direction predominantly because of there is a open land that is available over there, and also maybe due to some infrastructure development that has happened in that region, people are trying to develop or build more in that particular region. And then the ecosystem services, the evaluation was done, and it was found that the ecosystem services for wetland has decreased from 10.02 US million dollar to 8.68 million dollar, and similarly for other natural land cover, the ecosystem has been declining because of increase in built up and decline in the natural land cover of that particular city. And then next research firm that I want to discuss today briefly is about what we have done here is we have selected 8 state capital cities from northeast India, and try to understand how UHI is actually developing in northeastern region also, because at times we have this preconceived notion that okay, these are northeastern areas or maybe northern areas in Indian Himalayan region, and these are mostly mostly cold, and they do not have extreme summers or all such extreme weather conditions. But the contrary, what we have found, since I belong to that region, I have been seeing in through the past 10-20 years that there has been significant development in that region, a lot of infrastructure growth and lot of built spaces that has come up over the years. But at the same time, due to unplanned activities, these have somewhere leading to urban heat island effect, which was never heard of in that region, because all the building architectural style or the material that were used were earlier more of environment friendly, but now it is all the conventional material that is being used for construction. So that has actually instigated UHI in that region. But then that was very difficult to prove in front of others, because many of the main people here in mainland India, they have not visited that region, and to give them an understanding, some research work is required to prove our point. So that is what we tried with one of my PhD scholar. We tried to and also with the help of my intern. From a university, we try to study this entire northeast region and understand the level of UHI growth that has happened, and also we try to map land cover changes, because UHI is somewhere always linked with the growth in built up areas. So that was what we understood, and through research it has been very well proved that in this entire region there has been significant built up growth and decline in vegetation that has happened, and that is well quantified through this remote sensing and GIS maps. And also the UHI profiles that we saw here it gives a glimpse that UHI has been increasing in all the cities, and you can see through this legend here in this image itself that the areas which are demarcated high over the years, that is from 1994 to 24, the areas under this region has increased significantly because of the growth in built up and unsustainable urbanization that is happening in this region. So with this, I'd like to conclude my presentation, I guess, because I've already exceeded some of my time, and I'm very thankful to organizers for patience listening and giving me this opportunity. So I'd like to skip these slides, and possibly in future if I get a chance, I'd like to discuss all this in detail. So these were some real life case studies where some urban areas I have selected, and some projects at rural areas, how SDGs are actually promoted today in our villages also. So that was what I thought to showcase with you, but then due to time constraint, I really apologize that it won't be possible for me to discuss with you today. So at the end, I'd like to thank the honorable dignitaries and high authorities of Amity University, Chhattisgarh, and the entire organizing team, convener Dr. Parampreet Kaur, acting director of Amity School of Architecture and Planning, co-convener Mr. Rajiv Kumar, and architect Jui Giri for organizing this conference and giving me an opportunity to showcase my understanding and research work on this particular theme with the esteemed audience. And I'm also thankful to my students Amit Maurya, Kartik Parihar, and Avinash Yadav, who have helped me in compiling all the information in presentable manner for this PPT. So with this, I am open to questions, and if any suggestions from the audience.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I have a question. What are
Yeah.
the major challenges in implementing SDGs aligned practices and how can they overcome?
Are you trying to like ask this in terms of built environment or unbuilt environment?
So, both.
Okay, so the major challenge here is, first we have to actually prove that, okay, so this issue is actually happening in our city or not. So we try to document that through photographs or through, our day-to-day life experience. But then if we have some strong research backing with that, then possibly the decision makers will understand the situation and give us way ahead in working towards minimizing that effect. So the first and foremost challenge is the research that one has to do. Unless we research on a particular topic and prove our point that, okay, so this is what we are talking about, so this is the entire issue that has been happening over the years, plus a historical timeline study of any topic that you are interested on. So for example, if you are interested on working on urban flooding, that possibly I guess Raipur is also subjected to during monsoon. We see that with 15 to 20 minutes of extreme rainfall, most of our city gets flooded. So to prove that, possibly we may have to find out some historical imagery, satellite imagery, map out these extreme cases and present it in conferences or in such platforms where you have some decision makers and stakeholders present, and then possibly they will understand this, and further interventions may happen over there. So the main challenge is the research that one has to do. Unless without proving that, it becomes difficult for anyone to understand and agree with what you intend to do.
And so, next question is how can affordability and inclusivity be ensured in sustainable housing and built environment?
Yeah, thank you for this particular question also. For this, actually, I float a course as an open elective in IIT BHU, which is also called as low cost materials and housing. And shortly, with the collaboration with NPTEL, I am floating a 12 weeks course on this, on how different architectural styles or architectural materials one can actually promote low cost construction and affordability. So for that, it is a kind of a big lecture. So possibly, if I have to summarize that and give you an answer, it may be we have to look back to our vernacular architecture. We have to look back to our traditional way of living. So how our ancestors have been living in our in historical times. So we have to understand that and try to document that and utilize that in today's context. So possibly then the issue of affordability as well as the issues which are related to sustainability can be minimized.
Sorry, we won't be taking further questions due to paucity of time. However, we shall be collecting questions for sir and get them solved at the earliest. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for enlightening the gathering with the much required topic of discussion in today's world. Truly, the SDGs will be contributing immensely to the well being of the living beings on the planet Earth. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Moving ahead, I request Mr. Abhay Sahu to introduce our next keynote speaker for today.
Respected dignitaries, STEM guests, and dear participants. It is a great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Elizabeth K. Morris, Senior Lecturer in Fashion Ethics and Inclusion at the Manchester Fashion Institute, Manchester Metropolitan University, UK. Dr. Kelly Morris is a renowned academic and a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, whose work explores the critical intersection of fashion, disabilities, and social inclusions. Drawing from her lived experience, her research offers profound insights into the politics of dress, material practices, cultural memories, and ethical design decision making. Her scholarship challenges conventional perspectives by examining how fashion system influence embodied experience and access to clothing. Particularly for the marginalized communities, she has contributed extensively to the field as an associate editor of leading journals such as Fashion, Textiles, Fashion Style, Popular Culture, and has guest edited special issue titled Dressing Through Pandemics. Dr. Kelly Morris is also the co-editor of the acclaimed book Memories of the Dress, Bloomsbury 2023, and her work has been featured in prominent global platforms including The Guardian, The Telegraph, La Monde, and The Conversation. We are truly privileged to have such an inspiring scholar and a thought leader with us today. May I now invite Dr. Elizabeth Kelly Morris to kindly deliver her talk on designing inclusion, creativity, ethics, emerging technologies in our fashion futures.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm really grateful to the organizers for inviting me today. Thank you so much. Could I just check that everyone can see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, lovely. Okay, thank you so much. So today I'm going to discuss designing inclusion, and specifically how creativity, ethics, and emerging technologies. Sorry, I just have to move something out of the way. There we go. So today I'm going to discuss designing inclusion, and specifically how creativity, ethics, and emerging technologies are shaping the future of fashion. I want to begin with a simple proposition. Fashion excludes by design through design systems, not accidentally, not occasionally, but systematically. Globally, 1.3 billion people live with disability, and yet fashion systems continue to marginalize disabled consumers. This matters because fashion and dress and clothing are not trivial. Joanne Entwistle reminds us that what we wear mediates social recognition and selfhood. My argument is this: inclusion is not innovation, it's ethical obligation. To understand this more deeply, I introduce the concept of body dressing work. Dressing is not passive. Getting dressed takes physical and emotional effort, and it is labor. This labor is not just physical, it's also cognitive and emotional. It involves thinking, anticipating, adjusting, and feeling. Dressing then is an ongoing daily negotiation between body, clothing, and environment. It's about managing identity, not just function. And within that negotiation, we are constantly managing our identities. Body dressing work shifts the question from what do we wear to what does it take to be able to wear anything at all. The body dressing work framework has been developed by myself and Dr. Jennifer Poag. It reframes dressing not as passive consumption, but as an ongoing embodied practice where people negotiate identity, body, clothing, and environment. Dressing involves anticipation, adaptation, and negotiation with garments, environments, and social expectations. Most fashion thinking assumes that dressing is automatic, it's easy, and it's individual. The body dressing work framework challenges this. Instead, we argue that dressing is not routine, that it involves decision-making, what works today, problem solving, what will fit, what might be uncomfortable, identity negotiation, how do I want to be seen? Thus, getting dressed is work you do, not just something that you wear. Secondly, we argue that dressing is not just about the body, that it is relational rather than a private one-way action. The body dressing work framework demonstrates that dressing happens between body that might experience pain, that needs mobility, might be issues with asymmetry and sensation. Dressing happens also through the garment's fit, its structure, its fastenings. And the environment plays a part in dressing. Social expectations, weather, space, place, phenomena, events, etc. Thirdly, dressing is affective. It is emotional work as well as physical. We argue that dressing includes anxiety, possibly confidence or lack thereof, vulnerability, anticipation, and tension. Thus, what you wear affects how you feel and how you move through the world. Finally, we suggest that for people living with mobility disabilities, this labor is intensified. This is because they experience fewer clothes options, poor fit systems, social pressure, and bodily constraints. And these intensify the work involved in dressing all bodies, planning, adjusting, compromising, negotiating. Thus, we argue, this means that disability becomes a theory-generating phenomenon, not merely a case or a case study. What disability shows us is not that dressing becomes complex, but that it always was and is complex. It simply makes that labor more visible. Importantly, this labor is rarely recognized within fashion design systems. Digital platforms assume bodies arrive already resolved, upright, stable, frictionless. This work is grounded in the social and critical models of disability. These frameworks shift the focus away from the body and towards the systems that structure access and exclusion. The social model tells us that society disables, not bodies. The critical model reminds us that disability is lived, embodied, situated, experiential, and knowledgeable. Together, they allow us to understand dressing as a structured relational practice that produces embodied and material knowledge. Thus, dressing is not what we wear, it is what we do to negotiate our visibility in the world. Layers of desired visibility range from high aesthetic performance in fashion catwalks, etc., to garment modification, layering, camouflage, and selective avoidance. Disability reveals body dressing work more clearly by amplifying effort, planning, and constraint. Disability intensifies dressing labor, and it makes visible what is often invisible: the effort, the planning, the negotiation. In this way, disability does not add complexity to dressing. It reveals the complexity that is always there in daily wardrobe negotiations. From this, 4 key dimensions of body dressing work emerge. Firstly, belonging. Belonging is not automatic. It's something we work towards through dress and is negotiated through it. It involves navigating visibility, difference, and social expectation. Secondly, co-design. Body dressing work becomes distributed across designers, users, and fashion systems. This is why co-design is so essential to inclusive fashion. Lived experience is not anecdotal. It is expertise. It is knowledge. Inclusive design must be collaborative to be inclusive. Thirdly, camouflage. Sometimes dressing is not about being seen or expressing our individual aesthetic. It's about controlling how we are seen. It can be about protection from the weather, but as well as from visibility, from being looked at or stared at, managing how the body is read, controlling this visibility and legibility. And through this framework, we argue that dressing works as a strategy towards legibility, concealment, and possible resistance. And finally, technology. Clothing is not passive. Garments act. Technologies mediate. In this way, we argue garments do not simply fit bodies. They shape what bodies can do, how the bodies are experienced, and move through space. We suggest that clothing and fashion systems are co-agents in dressing labor. This next section considers the ethical tensions within fashion systems that enable exclusion of plural bodies. The fashion industry continues to prioritize standard bodies. Function is often separated from identity, and choice is limited in the adaptive apparel arena. As a result, the labor of dressing is pushed onto the wearer themselves. Every design decision is an ethical decision. It shapes autonomy, it affects dignity, it enables or restricts justice. But inclusion is not only ethical, it's also creative. Inclusion is not a limitation on design, it expands what design can be. It's not a constraint, but a possibility. We're now entering a digital turn in fashion through AI, avatars, and virtual bodies. Adaptive apparel has historically been framed through a medical model of disability, prioritizing functionality over expression. In digital fashion systems, we see a related phenomenon, what I describe as symmetry-centric ideology, the assumption that bodies are upright, proportionate, stable, and bilaterally balanced by default. This is built into the large language models that we see when we are body scanning. And these assumptions are not neutral. They are encoded into software architecture. However, pixels are never neutral. They operationalize cultural assumptions about which bodies are legible, and representation of disability in the digital space is critically important as we race forward in this virtual and augmented reality. Dress mediates our negotiation between private and public selves. For people with disabilities, that negotiation is intensified by clothing that restricts movement or signals dependency. Adaptive apparel that restores choice in style and fit thus becomes a medium of self-definition and agency. In virtual environments, avatars extend this agency, yet most 3D platforms still lack the capacity to represent limb difference, curvature, or seated posture. This absence, what Cameron James Wilson calls digital erasure, denies disabled people a visual presence in the very technologies that promise liberation. The creation of Cami, the world's first digital influencer with Down syndrome, exemplifies how representation can transform perception. When disabled bodies are visible and visibly stylish, they challenge cultural hierarchies of beauty and ability. Empowerment, therefore, arises through authorship. When wearers, designers, and technologists collaborate, the disabled subject ceases to be an object of accommodation and becomes a producer of fashion knowledge. Digital bodies are not neutral. They are constructed through encoded assumptions and are often based on able-bodied norms. In response to In response to these exclusions, I developed the pixelated body framework with Dr. Carrie McBee Black from the University of Missouri. Excuse me. The framework positions the digital body as avatar, not as a neutral interface, but as an ideological artifact, shaped by assumptions about symmetry, stability, and proportion. It maps three interconnected arenas within digital fashion systems where power operates. At the core lies the pixelated body, the 3D avatar. In digital fashion platforms such as Clo3D and Browseware, avatars default to symmetrical able-bodied templates, and such defaults encode what I term symmetry-centric ideology, effectively erasing disabled embodiment. Firstly, the structural inclusions are embedded in code and represent current design constraints, symmetry-centric default templates, lack of avatar diversity, algorithmic bias, and medicalized approaches. Secondly, our model highlights methodological interventions, which include human-centered design, 4D motion capture scanning, pixel malleability, and embodied dress theory as pathways to challenge this bias that we find in the structural exclusions area. The outer ring, inclusive possibilities, points to the possibility of inclusive software design. It envisions avatars as co-creators, inclusive curricula, and ethical AI infrastructures. These domains are not sequential stages, they operate simultaneously. The framework shifts attention from representation to infrastructure, from asking who is visible to examining how bodies are made computable and how lived experience should shape the systems that render them. Dynamic and malleable, the concept of pixelated bodies offers fashion designers and innovation programmers the opportunity to represent diverse embodiments, disrupting what I call symmetry-centric ideology that reproduces ableist assumptions at the software design level that currently govern digital apparel development spaces. This prospect and potential, however, remains largely unfulfilled. Current 3D fashion design software systems default to a normative, able-bodied avatar template with limited affordances for modifying asymmetry, seated position, limb difference, or size difference. A dual exclusion is presented here. Not only are people with disabilities underserved as consumers of fashion, but their digital representation is systematically erased at design level. The persistence of these structural omissions underscores the need for a collaborative, human-centered design approach, a methodology that prioritizes lived experience, iterative feedback, and empathetic collaboration, particularly in emergent digital design environments. So the lesson is clear. Pixels are not neutral. They are moral artifacts that carry ideological weight. Ethical digital design must encode empathy, diversity, and agency. So if digital infrastructure produces exclusion, then we need methods that intervene at the same level. Digital tools reproduce ableist norms by assuming symmetry, stability, and standardization. And in doing so, they reproduce exclusion. To explore this, we used a mixed method approach to develop the pilot study assessing the apparel needs of people with disabilities. The aim of the study is to investigate how lived dressing experience, garment design, and digital body capture intersect in order to identify how fashion systems engage with embodied variance among people with mobility disabilities. Methods include surveys, wardrobe interviews, 2D, 3D, and 4D scanning with participants in motion. This allows us to understand dressing as lived embodied practice. This study therefore focuses on 5 objectives: examining how clothing mediates comfort and movement, analyzing the labor involved in everyday dressing practices, investigating how embodied variance is translated through digital body capture, identifying where lived experience diverges from digital representation, and generating insights that can inform more inclusive digital apparel design. Participants of the study have demonstrated body dressing work in action. Participants selected their own garments from their wardrobes based on 3 criteria: their most loved garment, their most worn garment, their least worn garment. In this way, they guide the process because they already know what works for them, and they understand through these garments body dressing work in action. Bodies move and systems struggle. And in that gap, we begin to see the limitations of technology. Failure reveals system limitations, not the failure of bodies. When systems fail to capture the body, they reveal the limits of our imagination. And here on this slide, you see our work with Move AI, a motion capture, markerless motion capture, body scanning software. And we have our participants moving and being filmed as they move and capturing the avatar as they move. And this is very unique and unusual method within body scanning, and one that we're introducing through our project. So technology reveals, not produces knowledge. Participants already know what they need, and that came through very clearly in the wardrobe interviews that we held with the participants, where they discussed their selected clothing. Why was this their most loved? Why was this their least worn? So the problem is not knowledge. The knowledge of fashion systems that fit, that move, that work are just not recognized. That knowledge is not recognized by fashion systems and markets. They require this knowledge in order to include all bodies. So the study reframes the labor of getting dressed as knowledge production, revealing embodied experience long ignored by fashion industry of people with disabilities experiences getting dressed. Across methods, a clear pattern has emerged. Participants identified friction before systems measured it. The garments they described as least worn were also those that restricted movement relative to their individual baselines that we found when we body scanned them. Narrative knowledge precedes measurement. Motion capture did not discover constraint. It quantified what participants had already identified through lived experience in their wardrobe interviews. We also see convergence between narrative accounts and movement data. Restrictive garments reduce range of motion, while garments described as comfortable supported mobility and stability. What was interesting for us was how important fabric and textile was in movement. Garments that had ease would have elastane, would have lycra, would have a percentage of stretch to them. The least comfortable were the ones that were synthetic fabrics, synthetic textiles. So what this suggests is that garments are not static products. They move with us. They function as dynamic systems within the body-garment relationship. And I would argue between private and public selves as well. And finally, while participants recognized themselves in their avatars, these avatars did not fully capture dressing labor, fatigue, adaptation, and negotiation with clothing. We could see more of that as they were moving, but these static avatars that were scanned in a static body scanner don't show that at all. Recognition of their bodies was present, but accommodation remained partial. This methodological ethic, centered on reciprocity and respect, translates abstract principles into tangible empowerment. Disabled participants are not research subjects, but co-designers and co-knowledge creators. shaping the digital futures of fashion. So inclusion is not about accommodation, it's about redesign. It's a shift from reactive solutions to structural change, which is needed. Looking forward, ethical inclusion must be embedded structurally within design education and digital development. I propose 5 guiding imperatives. Firstly, reframe inclusion as moral duty. Following Hobb Brookshire, treat accessibility as a perfect duty, a necessity, written into professional codes of ethics. Secondly, foster interdisciplinary collaboration. Bring together designers, occupational therapists, engineers, and users as standard practice. Integrate comfort and aesthetics. Use comfort theory and the functional, expressive, and aesthetic model to design for dignity as well as function. Develop ethical digital tools. Audit AI training data for representational bias. And diversify 3D body libraries. Educate for empathy. Redesign curricula to include participatory studios and body diverse modeling, ensuring students learn through encounter, not abstraction. Such reforms recognize that fashion's future will be simultaneously material and digital. To design ethically is to weave inclusion through both fiber and pixels. So body dressing work is not just a framework, it's a way of seeing the labor that fashion has long ignored. Body dressing work is more than a concept. It's a way of understanding clothing and the act of dressing as knowledge, as method, as ethics. It's a method for research, and it's a framework for justice. This means designing with people, not for them, designing for plurality, and creating flexible systems. The future of fashion is relational. It's collaborative. Co-design becomes an integrated method from the initial design stages and is inclusive by design. Fashion is collaborative world making, assembling new realities through mixed method, multidisciplinary routes, rather than accepting the status quo. In closing, ethical design for inclusion is not a niche or benevolent activity. It's a foundation of a just fashion system and a just world. Inclusive design is not just about what we make. It's about the society we are building through making. Ethical design is weaving inclusion through every stitch and every pixel. Every stitch and every line of code carry ethical potential. Do they include? Do they exclude? Do they assume? Do they know? The challenge and the opportunity, and there's vast opportunity within digital fashion innovations. The opportunity is to ensure that both material garments and digital avatars express dignity, agency, and belonging as a moral duty. So I leave you with this question: whose bodies are recognized and whose are excluded? Thank you so much for your attention this morning, this afternoon, I should say, and the opportunity to share this research with you. I'm very grateful to the organizing committee, and it's been a great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Oh, I should just show that in my slides, I do have, I'll just slowly go through this for the recording, a bibliography of the authors that I've cited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Your perspective was truly inspiring and a thought provoking. May I invite Mr. Rajiv Kumar, co convenor of the conference, for delivering the vote of thanks.
I finished a bit early, didn't I? To allow for questions. Oh, here he is. Hello. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're an excellent communicator.
Yes.
Very, very good. Thank you for all of your work.
Good afternoon and warm greetings to all. The future of design lies at the intersection of creativity, sustainability, and technology, where ideas not only inspire but also transform the world. I, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, uh, co-convener, feel truly honored to deliver the concluding remarks and vote of thanks for this enriching keynote session. Today, keynote session has been immensely insightful and intellectually stimulating. We had the privilege of listening to two distinguished speakers who shared their valuable knowledge and global perspectives. I extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Vishal Sir, Assistant Professor at IIT DHU Varanasi, for his enlightening talk on sustainable futures for built and unbuilt spaces. Aligning with the SDGs, his perspective on sustainability and alignment with global development goal have truly inspired us to rethink our approach toward built environment. I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Elizabeth Kelly Morris, Senior Lecturer at Manchester Fashion Institute, UK, for her engaging and thought provoking session on designing inclusion, creativity, ethics, and emerging technology in fashion futures. Her insights into inclusive and ethical design practice have enriched our understanding of future ready innovation. Both keynote address beautifully reflected the essence of our conference theme, integrating creativity, interdisciplinary research, and emerging technology for a sustainable and inclusive future. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to our moderators, A.R. Minakshi Rajput Singh and Mr. Abhay Sahu, for their excellent coordination and for ensuring the smooth flow of this session. My heartfelt appreciation goes to all participants, academicians, researchers, and students for their enthusiastic participation and engagement, which made this session truly interactive and meaningful. I would also like to acknowledge the dedicated efforts of the organizing team, technical team, and volunteers for their seamless support in conducting this keynote session successfully. With this, we conclude today's keynote session on a note of inspiration and learning. I am confident that the knowledge shared today will continue to guide and motivate us in our academic and professional endeavors. Thank you all.
I request all the participants to join their respective technical session on time.
Request IT team to kindly end the meeting.